what he's doing beforehand. Can they hear us right now?
Yes.
Oh, oops. Shutting up. That's going to make for great audio at the beginning of that. People like, what the hell is he doing? Sorry, I had to blow the old honker there, folks. I'm sorry. Getting over the crudula, so. Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Battle Bros podcast. My name is Mac. This handsome son of a gun over here. This SOB, son of Boricua. See what I did there? This is Almo. Yeah, we're the hosts of the Battle Bros podcast. If you're joining us for the first time, hey, cool. Thanks for stopping by. Hopefully you like what you see. If you're coming back and visiting us again, hey, cool. Thanks for stopping by. Hopefully you're not going to get chased off by some irreverent shit that we say during the course of the show. So,
indeed.
Yeah. So, you did not miss anything. We actually took last week off, which was Friday the 13th. Dude, last weekend was crazy. Like, it was 4-day weekend, and it was like short and long all at the same time. And like I went back to work Tuesday morning, and I was just like, I don't want to go to work. God damn it. This is horse shit.
I definitely get it, dude.
If you're not the only one, send a comment down below. But yeah, so we weren't on last week. We had a little bit of a scheduling issue, which we had worked into what we were talking about. We started a 2-part discussion called Fallout last week. Are we ready to go for number 3 or not yet?
For number 3?
For the guest.
Oh, yes. He is back.
Okay. Just want to make sure, because I didn't find any news or anything this week, so I'm just going to roll right into this. So I just want to make sure the timelines were all lined up.
There was definitely some news. The VA tried to screw vets, and vets fought back, and they rescinded it. So
I didn't see any of that, so I'll let you comment on that if you want. So if you want to go for that, go for that.
So. I only caught some of the details. I just saw. All I know is that the VA was trying to restructure how they would qualify.
Do we want to wait and maybe like look at this a little bit more and then talk about it next week? So we're just a little bit more up to speed.
I would say we could,
okay.
But also I think our guest might be able to expand on it just a little bit.
Okay. Well, hey, we'll leave that up to him. If he does, he does. If not, if not. So we're gonna go into a holding pattern for just a second. So again, the last time we broadcasted was 2 weeks ago. It was Friday the 6th. Today is Friday the 20th. Of February 2026. We had on one of our favorite guests, our good friend Brian, who behind the scenes, like no lie, is one of the biggest contributors to the show without even being a contributor. He'll be like, hey man, you should talk about this. Or I'll ask him, what do you think about this, and this? He goes, oh buddy. And it turned into like a long conversation because I kicked the therapist's hamster brain into warp speed, and he's downloaded stuff on me. I'm like, I can't write this fast to keep up. But 2 weeks ago, we did the first part of a 2-part series, and this is actually all due to our guest we're gonna have on here in just a few minutes. He called me up a while back and said, hey man, I had an idea for a topic. And it was such a good idea when he told me about it that I was like, hey, that's all fine and dandy, but you got to come on and like be the point man on this. And he's like, sure. So because of, schedules with parental stuff and responsibilities and this, that, and the other, that's why we did our last show 2 weeks ago. This last week, we had our kids, both of us separately, we had our kids with us and stuff, so it was just kind of not a good weekend to do it. So this is part 2 of that conversation. So
Part two.
If you are joining us tonight, welcome. This is episode 124 of the Battle Bros podcast, entitled Fallout Part 2, Jealousy. And we're going to get into that in just a minute. So the first part, if you caught it last week, appreciate you stopping by. If you're new to this, make sure, if you would, we would appreciate it if you go on and hit that like, subscribe, depending on where you're seeing us. If you're watching us on YouTube or Spotify or any of the other social media apps or media consumption apps, you can go about seeing us in a lot of different ways. Feel free to hit that notification bell too, because it'll tell you when we have a new episode coming out, such as tonight, and you can be up to speed and in the know and completely aware that, hey, they got a new show coming on. Let's see what the big white head says to sound stupid tonight. And it's like, I won't disappoint. So, the first conversation we had 2 weeks ago was on the topic of discrimination, and we actually had a pretty in-depth conversation going along about that. So we covered the aspect of discrimination from the perspective of military, veteran community, also a little bit of law enforcement, first responder, that type of stuff, but primarily veteran and military community as well. So the other side of that coin is going to be our conversation tonight on jealousy. So before we bring our guest back on for the second part, I'm just going to read the definition that we found real quick. Jealousy is defined as the state of feeling or showing envy of someone or their achievements and advantages. Okay, I'm going to read that one more time just to make sure that sinks in. The state of feeling or showing envy of someone or their achievements and advantages. Okay, so keep that in the back of your mind while we're having our conversation here. There's going to be a little bit of homework at the end. Not really, but just get you to go, get you to a little bit. So
it's going to get the mental juices moving.
Yes, it's going to get that hamster wheel kind of warmed up and going a little bit. It's like, all right. So, Alamo, if you'll bring our guest back on, we'd appreciate that.
Huey.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for the 4th time to the show. This is Brian. He's a guy that if you hear us refer to the brain, that way.
You're killing me, man.
Hey, man, it's a good joke. It's awesome. Brian, welcome back to the show. Hey, man, we're all knuckle draggers, but
that's right.
Sometimes you got to rest the knuckles.
We all got scars.
Anyway, sorry, that just came out of nowhere. And you know what? I just broke my rule too. You were like, listen, well, come on, but you got to keep it serious. And I'm sitting there going, oh, I just broke that rule.
For the next 10,000 years, humanity is still roaming the earth, my friend. That will be on the internet.
Hey, man. All good. The aliens are gonna all the crap of all the culture globally. Aliens are gonna come to this world. They're gonna see me going like, oh no, primate, leave it. They're good. They haven't developed yet. All because humanity's gonna blame me for the next eons worth of nonsense. So it's all good.
That's awesome.
Brian, thank you again for coming back on our show, man. We appreciate it.
No worries, man.
It's been a couple of weeks, so. For the folks at home, before we get into our topic for tonight, if you would just kind of quickly give us a synopsis, kind of explain how this whole thing started, give us, the cliff notes of, the introduction you gave yourself last week, so we can get right into the conversation, because I'm really looking forward to having this conversation with just kind of with all the things that have happened just that I've experienced in life lately. And I'm not trying to sound all wise of the world and stuff. Like, I've seen things and just had experiences recently, and I'm like, oh yeah, like that's going to be a very perfect conversation.
They probe you.
I'm not at liberty to say.
Okay. All right. I'm sorry. I just had to ask. All right. So let me get into this thing, man. So,
I will say it smelled like peanut butter.
Oh, you got smells?
Have you ever seen the movie Fire in the Sky?
Oh yes, I can. But let's not squirrel. Let's get back to
it is.
Here, man.
That whole probing scene, awful. Anyway,
all right. I started that. I'm sorry.
You're good. You're good. The floor is yours, and I'm gonna shut it down right now. 3, 2, 1.
You're good, man.
All
right. So once again, my name is Brian Ellis. I'm a licensed therapist here in the state of Florida. I'm also a certified career specialist. been doing this for a little while. I've been in the mental health field since like 2016. Done a ton. I mean, a ton of training, working with vets and first responders, just mostly with vets. Recently with first responders. Have a ton of training working with individuals with substance abuse issues, with PTSD, with grief, loss, things of that nature, and then everything in between, right? Individuals they're in transition from changing jobs, or they're just leaving the military and they're transitioning to the civilian world. Not just the military. I work with quite a few law enforcement officers. They hung the uniform up, right? They did their time, man. They're smoked. They're done. They're tired of being spit on and talk shit about, and they're just like, I'm kind of over it, man. So they hang their uniform up. So I've worked with them and helped them make that transition from being indoctrinated into law enforcement, living the law enforcement identity, and then now they're civilians. So they're on a block. By no means does it mean everything, right? Every individual that I work with, every individual has what they call their own experiential reality. That means that they walk through life in a bubble, and their brain is wired differently than the other 7 billion people in this world. That's how I treat my patients. Statistics are useful, but my patients are their own people, which is very important to note. But moving forward, that's who I am. My name is Brian, licensed therapist. I did stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night, so I'm a little bit more cocky than normal. I may act like I know a little bit more tonight than I did.
Was it a
last
business
night.
suite?
It was. Yeah, it was. Yeah. I don't drink anymore, so I left the stuff in the cooler, but it was there. Yeah. So yeah, just a refresher. So last time I spoke, we did go over discrimination. And that's a really good video, especially if you're somebody that feels like you've been discriminated against. And I'm not talking about, from family. I mean, I talked about work stuff. I talked about society. Yeah. I did talk about family, neighbors, right? Friends.
And if you're joining us for the first time, folks, if you want to go back and catch that conversation in its entirety, you can go to our YouTube channel, Battle Bros Podcast. You can also go to any one of several other websites as well. Alamo's going to give you the full rundown on that at the very end of the show, but there are ways you can go back and review or re-listen or re-watch that content. So, Brian, sorry, keep going, my man.
You're good, man. I was like in mid-speak, and you spoke, so it's good, man. No worries at all. All right, man. So where was I? My brain is gonna skip a beat there. Anyway, yeah. So if you want to learn about discrimination, man, and how it affects you, and where it comes from too, because a lot of us are kind of blind to where it's coming from. Same thing with jealousy. We're gonna talk about jealousy today, and it can be a heavy topic for some of us. Okay. So let's get right into it. So again, jealousy. What is jealousy? Right? If you're the one that's experiencing jealousy, right, it could come from a lot of different places. All right. A lot of times jealousy can come from maybe the fact that when we were little kids, maybe our parents, they were in a lower socioeconomic class. Maybe everything you had were hand-me-downs, right? Maybe mom and dad, they took you to the Goodwill, and all your clothes and all your toys were secondhand. Or you were the young kid, so you got all your brother's clothes or all your sister's clothes, things of that nature. And you tend to, when you grow up like that, you tend to be a little bit of envious of people that have nice new shoes or brand name clothes that look like they're somewhat new. And it's hard not to, it's hard for a little kid not to feel a little envious. Usually in households like that, kids can experience their parents. Whoa, what was that noise? There's something squeaking.
That was my chair. I was leaning back a little bit just to settled in
no
for our
worries. I was like,
conversation.
there's music or something going on. I totally scrolled on you guys. So anyway, going back to that childhood household, right? Again, maybe you grew up and you're in a lower social economic class, and mom and dad had to, put everything that they had together just to get you secondhand stuff. And little kids can feel a little envious over the kids that have nicer clothes, nicer toys, a nicer bike, things of that nature. And sometimes that could trigger an emotional reaction, and sometimes kids get pretty pissed off. And when jealousy kind of hits its peak with a little kid like that, that's when they might act out. There might be some theft, or they might get mad at the kid that's got really nice stuff, and they either might start picking on them or devaluing who they are as an individual because they have nicer things than them. They might call them privileged and other names, right? Or they might try to start picking on them. Unfortunately, this happens, right? It's kind of a natural reaction to little, and that kind of moves into teenage years, especially if the social economic situation doesn't change in the house. Now that 5 or 6 year old or that 10-year-old that really didn't have a lot may even have less, or they may have to scrounge to buy, the old beater car to drive to high school, and they might get picked on for it. And all these things kind of, they make an impression on a very impressionable mind, right? And anger might form. Kids might become angry, who don't have that nice car, or that car is breaking down all the time, especially if that car is breaking down in front of their friends or has to be left at school, right? Because now we're start talking about reputation. And kids that usually go through something like this are very vulnerable, right? They're really emotionally vulnerable. Their self-esteem is very low. They may have a poor self-image because they don't really have everything that everybody else has. And then that could create a lot of other issues, right? Again, that could create some pretty bad behavioral issues in regards to the stealing things, treating people poorly that have nicer things. We're going to go into this a little bit more, but when jealousy becomes an issue, people's behavior gets really erratic. It can become very, very, very poor, kind of dangerous at times, especially when we start talking about emotional jealousy, or not just emotional jealousy. I mean, some material jealousy as well, depending on the pathology of the person, or the mental health issues that the person might be dealing with as well, right? So that's kind of where I want to start this, right? I tend to go in the chronological order of things, whatever I'm speaking, especially with mental health stuff. Unfortunately, guys, when you work with a therapist, they're always going to meet you where you're at, right? If you come in because you're saying, "Hey, man, I just lost my job," they're going to work with you on that. But if a therapist starts noticing other things within you, different phobias, or maybe whether or not you may display the traits of somebody that has what we call unresolved trauma, or some complicated or prolonged grief or something like that, we're going to slowly kind of try to chip some of that wall that you have up, so we can kind of figure out, well, what was going on back here that maybe has led to where you're at today. Okay. That's honestly a big part of jealousy as well, right? But I do want to go back to that little kid again. So it's important to know, and listen, if you would have asked me 10 years ago how I felt about bad behavior, right, I would have told you, somebody does a crime, they do the time. There's a part of me that still thinks that, but because I'm a therapist now, I've dealt with a lot of people that have been incarcerated. There's a lot of mentally ill people that are incarcerated that have zero impulse control. They lack the ability to control themselves. That puts them somewhere, and then their situation gets 10 times worse, right? But imagine that 5-year-old kid that grew up in a very poor home, maybe there was some abuse, maybe there's some substance abuse in the home, maybe there was some mental illness, right, that kept them in that low social economic class. And then that little kid, that 5-year-old, struggled all through life, right, and really tried to make what they could make out of life. So people are they're not dealt a good hand. They're not. You know, down the road, but you know, it's kind of sad when you're the therapist talking to an 8-year-old that is upset because he's getting picked on because all of his clothes are stained and tattered and stuff like that. But I don't excuse bad behavior, right? So don't confuse that, right? So we kind of set the stage where jealousy can come from, right? So and that's we'll say that's a big part of jealousy, right? Because usually those kids that come from the lower social economic class, they may not attract the most handsome guy or the most beautiful woman, right? They might attract somebody that might be going through the similar things that they're going through rather. I'm not saying that person may not be beautiful or attractive or whatnot, but it seems to be a lot of guys, man. They dream and watch this extraordinary, beautiful people on TV, right? Models. I mean, and people that they have a pound of makeup on and they just look gorgeous. And that's who they want in their lives. And they get really jealous of other people that are able to attract those mates, we'll say male or female. And it's usually because they have really nice material things, because fancy people, right? Fancy looking people that are very, they have the money to dress very nice. They have the money to put all the makeup on. Maybe they have the money to do other things to enhance their physical appearance. They're going to attract somebody that most likely has money, right? And has nice things. And for somebody that really, really desires to be with somebody like that, right, that adds another layer to this, because not only do they not have the material things they want, now they're not able to attract the person that they want to attract, right? And again, for some people, that could be very frustrating, especially if you grow up in a family where there's not a lot of love, there's not a lot of money, things of that nature. I'm not saying that there's some lower economic class homes that didn't grow up. Kids grew up very healthy, right? They grew up very healthy. They were loved. I'm not trying to say that lower socioeconomic classes that have all those things. All I'm saying is there's a lot of kids that are envious of kids that have money. Now there's very, very wealthy kids, right, that may not have siblings and are an only child, and they're jealous of kids that have siblings because they could share their toys with them. They have somebody at home, right? So we're going to go from one end of the spectrum to another, right? So look at the kid over here on the right, that has every material thing that you could possibly want, right? Can attract any woman that he wants, or a girl that's in that same class can attract any man that she wants. But she's lonely because she doesn't have siblings, or maybe because of the way their personalities are, they don't make friends easy, so they feel very, very alone. And a lot of times, and I've worked with a lot of people like that they're very introverted, they're very insecure, they're very insecure about their mannerisms, how they're perceived in the world. Maybe they have a generalized anxiety disorder or whatnot, and if they're jealous of other people that have friends, have siblings, have people to spend their time with on the weekends, or have people that they could spend their time with in the evenings. And it's very intense. It could be very intense for both spectrums that I'm talking about right now. These feelings could be very, very intense. I mean, it causes people to sometimes be very angry, right? It causes people to be very emotional, right? To be very, very frustrated. I've worked with people that, especially when people are lonely, it really affects people that are lonely. Because you could go work at McDonald's and you could earn enough money to buy what you want. If you got it in your mind that you're not attractive to people, or if you got it in your mind that you're not worthy enough to have friends, or for whatever reason you're just not sociable, maybe you got some insecurities. Like, I've had people this break down in my office because they're so lonely, and they really develop this thought that there's something wrong with me, and that really keeps them stuck, and it keeps them into a place where they stop trying to make friends, which is a downward spiral rather. I'm sorry, because they get into this mindset that nothing's ever going to change, right? And that's really bad for people. But again, on those people, there's a lot of jealousy there, because they're very jealous of their coworkers, especially if they're on the outside, right? If they're not part of the clique and they're watching all their coworkers mingle, go to lunch together, bring in baked goods and share baked goods together, or if they're laughing, joking it, and then you got this other person that's over here, right? And they're kind of left alone, right? Think about what it feels like not to be noticed. It's almost as if you're in a room amongst people who know you, but that they act like you don't exist, right? And it's disheartening, but those people they become very jealous. They can become very jealous and envious of other people that have a lot of friends. And then that jealousy it can change their behavior, right? Where they might get a little bit, they may become a little rude. They might start lashing out. Even if professional adults, this happens, or they'll start lashing out. They might become a little snippy, a little bit extra critical of the other people who they have friends. People may just naturally gravitate to them, right? So jealousy looks like many different things, okay? And jealousy, millionaires can be jealous, right? Millionaires can be jealous. 5-year-old kids that are in a low social economic class can be really jealous, right? The medium of the road, upper middle class. It doesn't matter race, creed, religion. It doesn't matter. Jealousy can affect everybody, and it doesn't matter who you are. Even the most confident, healthy, put together person could become jealous if they perceive that they can't obtain what they want to obtain. And if it gets stuck, especially if it gets stuck in their head, right? So that's kind of some groundwork for jealousy, right? Now, I want to bring this specifically to bleh, I can't speak tonight, man. I speak for a living. My last session ended at like 8 p.m. So I'm trying to get my words out, guys. So bear with me.
You're good, brother. Just keep driving ahead, man. Keep driving on.
I appreciate it, man. So I want to bring this to our culture, right? To the veteran culture, right? And first responders, you guys are in here as well, man. Right. But I really want to talk about the vets, man, because one of the things that I have personally experienced, and I've talked to other veterans about this personally, friends, colleagues, associates, and patients of mine, that they kind of were treated like shit by multiple people rather, growing up in the military. Some of it has to do with patch envy, right? Which drives me crazy. Some of it has to do with patch envy, right? The thing that I'm going to go back to, though, is, man, it's that kid that maybe he didn't have a lot of friends in high school. He just maybe a little bit socially awkward, gets to the unit, and people don't bring him into the fold, right? People don't bring him in. Nobody takes him under their wing. We've all seen these privates. I don't know. I could think of multiple privates that are standoffish. Maybe they're a little bit, again, socially awkward, or they're just not there, man. They're not ready to put themselves out there because maybe they don't have the self-confidence that'll help them get into the crowd. Some of those kids, man, their behavior gets really bad, right? And that's where some of the disciplinary issues come from, and the substance abuse comes from, right? And it could become very problematic, right? But jealousy it is rampant within our ranks, man. It is rampant within our ranks, within our culture. Again, we talked about the patch envy a second ago, which drives me crazy.
Hey, Brian, can I interrupt real quick? Could you, for the folks at home that may not know what that is, could you describe that in as best you can, and just give your take on what patch envy is?
Yeah, man. So this is Brian's take on patch envy, right? So listen, man, there's some really, really historic, prestigious units out there, right? I'll name some up, like the 82nd, the 101st, the 1st Cavalry Division,
Big Red One,
the Big Red One, man. All the patches that you see in all the video games, Call of Duty, in all the movies, what's the movie or the series I'm thinking about that was on HBO, man?
Band of Brothers.
Band of Brothers, man. You got the 101st, So these are really recognizable patches, man. And for those guys that got to go to those units, man, you're awesome, buddy. You're awesome, man. But there's some soldiers, man, that they never got to go. You know what I mean? They never got to go. They never got a chance to go to those units. So I mean, I've seen grown men get jealous over a dude because he's got a cab sandwich, man. You know what I mean? He's got his cab patch. He's got his cab combat patch, right? And it doesn't go to these guys. I've had these conversations, man, and it immediately goes to an integrity check.
Yeah,
and that's the jealousy. So that right there. That's a jealousy thing, right? If you see somebody with something that you don't have and you immediately criticize them and you immediately jump to they're full of shit, that's a you fucking problem. That's a you problem. That's a jealousy thing, right? Because people that aren't jealous, they're either gonna just whatever. It's okay, great. Been in the military for 17 years. You know how many freaking cab sandwiches and combat patches I seen? It was a fucking we're GWAT vets. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, whatever. It's not even. I don't even think about it. You know what I mean? But if somebody gravitates towards that, then there's something else there, right? There's something else there. Okay. So yeah, patch envy, man. That maybe you wanted to be in it, you didn't. Something happened, you couldn't go. I don't know. Maybe and think about that, man. Maybe you were a little kid growing up, and you always wanted to be a 101st guy. Maybe dad was a 101st guy. Maybe grandpa was a 101st guy. Right? Maybe you wanted to be a legacy. You wanted to be a legacy 101st guy, and you never got there. It just didn't happen. Maybe you went to Carson instead, and you became fucking 4th Cav. Or I'm sorry, 4th ID, right? I can't speak today. 4th ID. But anyway, so I mean, there's many different reasons why somebody could be jealous, but it's up here. It's all about the person, and it's all about how they perceive that patch on that person's arm and what is so important about that patch to that person, right? But just like that little kid that gets pissed off at his next door neighbor because his next door neighbor's got a really nice new bike and he's got this bike over here, right? That kid with that not so nice bike, he starts comparing himself to the kid with the nice new bike. And maybe he starts feeling less. Maybe he starts feeling right. And in some people that could generate that could evoke a really nasty emotional reaction. Or again, bad behavior, right? That's a long-winded version of patch envy, okay? But yeah, I again, man, dude, do I wish that I had like a second cousin, man, that was a 101st guy. Do I think it would be cool to wear a 101st pat? Fuck yeah. Am I gonna get mad at somebody, man, because they're wearing a 101st badge? Am I gonna start getting in my feels, man, and start? Am I like? Do I get it in my head and I start thinking, well, maybe they just put that on maybe it's out of a Cracker Jack box. Maybe they went to the class, maybe they went to clothing and sales and they just put that on their fucking arm. I'm not, because I'm not going to pay that much attention to somebody. You know what I mean? I'm not going to give somebody that much attention.
Right.
I got fucking too much other shit to worry about what the fuck somebody's wearing on their right or left sleeve. So again, man, that's, if you're experiencing that, man, there's a reason why, right? I'm not going to judge you for it, but there's a reason why. I would ask you to start asking yourself, well, why do I get in my feels, man, when I see somebody wearing a patch that I'm not wearing? Right? Right? Same thing with the combat patches, man. Right? Again, we're all GWAT vets, man. Mac, you went to Afghanistan, Alamo, Iraq.
Mm-hmm.
You went to Iraq twice, right, Matt? Alamo? Once?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
we're both one pump chumps.
Man, I did Iraq and Afghanistan, man. I mean, to me, it's like I was just doing my duty. I didn't ask to go to Afghanistan. I just went to Afghanistan because I was in during the time that my unit went to Afghanistan. But you'll find guys and man, they get jealous because maybe I went to Iraq and Afghanistan. Where me, I'm like, I wouldn't even call it fucking lucky. I was just in during the time of GWAT, I mean, whatever, man. Why does it matter? You know what I mean? But the combat patch thing, man, that I don't know. I struggled for a long time trying to understand why people are so fucking jealous of other dudes' combat patches, man. I really did, because I seen it at both the units that I was at, both Charlie Company, man, and then the aviation unit I was at. You get a new guy in and everybody's like, oh, it's a combat patch, or oh, he didn't fucking earn that, or whatever. It's just a dude with a fucking patch on, man. Why you fucking all like, why you being all weird?
The other thing too is like, where did you get your CIB?
Oh, I know, dude. I know. I'm glad you brought that up, man, because it's like, yeah, it's all those badges and shit, man. Again, man, that shit's coming from somewhere. Yeah. It's coming from somewhere, man. It's coming from somewhere. Again, I'm going to go back to that little kid, man, that didn't get what they wanted. They didn't have everything they wanted. Maybe they wanted to be somebody else. Maybe they're used to comparing themselves to somebody else. It's coming from somewhere, man. And again, I'm not going to judge people for it, man. But yeah, I mean, it's an awkward moment though when you're the guy that people are like, "Where'd you get that?" You're gonna have to be very specific with me and break it down Bronny style, because I have no clue what the fuck you're talking about right now.
Yeah,
like my mind is somewhere else than your fucking mind right now, and your mind is. We're not in the same universe right now. You know what I mean? So it's just confusing, man. It's very confusing. But accompanied by that, I'm going to go back to this bad behavior, man. And this is where people they can get a little shitty during interactions like this, right? They can get a little shitty during interactions like this, man. They can get accusatory. And they can become accusatory, and within that mode, that accusatory mode, right? Maybe they're a little bit aggressive. They're a little bit confrontational. that goes back to that bad behavior that I was talking about. Right? It goes back to that bad behavior I was talking about growing up. But it's interesting to see when you see adults do this stuff, though, man. It is. It's very interesting, man. But again, I'm gonna make this statement again, man. We're at a period of time in our lives, man, in the history of this country where, like, man, we need to work together and not separate each other. We need to go back to being a unit, man. Being a tribe where we work together and help each other out, man. Because Alamo, like you said during last meeting, man, it went from 22 suicides a day. Now it's up into the 30s a day.
Yeah.
And it's, there was supposed to be a decline when, 10 years ago. We should have been down to 8, 9 a day, right? We might double in the next decade,
Yeah.
or it might be in the 40s. So listen, again, man, and then a lot of this has to do with the way we're treated by our own people, man. It really does. When you're in service for so long, everybody that wears a uniform is your family. When you get out of service, you don't have that no more.
Yeah.
And the last thing any of us need, man, is to reach out to a vet that's local, or to a VFW or AMVETS or a Legion or whatever, and then get treated like shit because you're just trying to hang around vets, man. But you got somebody over here that's fucking jealous of your service. Trying to exclude you from the fun because they don't want to get dethroned.
No.
Yeah.
I would say like it's pretty a pretty prudent saying that, like, just from history, is like Abraham Lincoln's, a house divided against itself cannot stand, right? Like, like I've noticed that there's people that, that get jealous of people that have served just in general,
You're absolutely right.
And I've noticed the guys being jealous of, each other for having been able to serve during a time of war and all these other things. It's just, I don't know, man. I think it's very, I just think in general, we're running into this issue where our country as a whole has just split into two very vastly different, not even parties, I wouldn't even say tribes. I can't even kind of verbalize what the hell we've turned into. But you're finding people splitting up on either side of that fence, and the ones in the middle, like myself, and I'm pretty sure like the both of you as well, our demographic is starting to shrink, and it's kind of scary, man. It's really, really kind of scary.
It is, man. I didn't mean to interrupt, man.
No, you're good.
And you're right, buddy. I don't want to steer it into like a political way, but I definitely want to come back to what you said about the division. The way I think about it, Alamo, man, I think we're fractured. Like, when you throw like a hard tennis, when you throw something hard at a windshield and it just fractures, where you get all these cracks everywhere. To me, that's how things feel. At least if it was a clear break, you could mend it. But I feel like we're fractured, and to me that's scary, man, because I see because I've worked with the veteran community for so long, and it feels fractured. The veteran community, man, it feels fractured, man. Whether I was doing stuff at the VA or I was doing stuff at the treatment facility where I was running vet groups and stuff like that. And man, I had veteran patients for up to a year, man. And you know, guys, I have a master's degree in psychology for a reason. You know, I'm fascinated with human behavior, and I would watch different generations of vets interact and engage with each other. We only had at least a handful of Vietnam vets. There's a handful, but the vast majority of vets were Cold War vets, Desert Storm vets, and then GWAT vets. And you could see where they would kind of come together, but then, like, then you had the peacetime vets, and there was just a lot of confrontation within the different eras of vets, and then, you know, you'd have some vets that, again, they would do the credibility integrity check thing on the guys that really been there and done that, because they're jealous because they didn't get to go there and been there and done that. So they tried to discredit the guys that actually went there and been there and done that. Now, I'm not saying that there's guys that are full of there's not the guys that are full of shit, because of course there is, but not every guy is fucking full of shit about their service. You know what I mean?
You know, and I if I can interject real quick,
Yeah, really good.
I'm pretty sure I've well, I know, I just don't want to interrupt. You know, when you're on a roll or something, I get that. But you know, I'm pretty sure I've told this experience several times on this show since we've been doing this. But I remember, you know, working at the place that Alamo and I worked at when we worked in retail before you had started working there, Alamo. But I had this old timer walk up to me, and you could tell like the guy was rocking a Manchu mustache. So like you kind of put it around being like a Vietnam vet is probably what I would have aged him at, and I was right. And he had a little leather flip phone case on his belt to hold his phone. He had a flip phone, and on the outside of it, he had the old school warrant officer, the Rising Eagle insignia. So I was like, "Oh, hey, what's going on, Chief?" He goes, "How the hell did you know that?" I'm like, "You're wearing the warrant officer insignia on your phone case." He goes, "Good eye, man." And I got to strike up a conversation with the guy, and he was like, you know, I forget the context of all of it, but at the very end, he was like, we want to make sure my group, my generation, Vietnam vets, want to make sure that you guys, the GWAT generation, doesn't get treated the way we did. We want to make sure you guys don't get home and get called baby killers, you get spit on. Hey, don't travel home in your uniform and all that kind of crap. And that made such a huge, profound like impact on me. I've always considered, you know, generally speaking, I've always considered, you know, Vietnam veterans like older brothers, you know, because they went before us and they kind of went and had all that experience. And I mean, especially with guys like our old teacher, you know, Burnham, you know, he was a fantastic freaking dude. It would just
rest in
talk
peace, Mr. B.
Yeah. I mean, Brian, I wish you could have met this guy, man. You guys would have hit it off so damn well. He was in the last troop plane out of Vietnam. He was a military policeman. Just very, very matter of fact. And he came home, he used his GI Bill, became a teacher, and he affected the lives of so many kids. You know, pretty much worked at Armwood up until he retired for like, it was like something like 30 years or something like that. But just a solid dude. And especially once I got into the military and Alamo, I mean, you kind of tell me your perspective on this too, but like I always respected him as, you know, a mentor, as an older person, you know, somebody that came before me. But then once I came back and I had been in the military and I was in the army and stuff, it's like it kind of went to a different level because like we kind of just had that understanding, like we've both been through some things, we've seen some things, like we had respect for each other on just a newer, higher, more profound kind of level. What would you agree with that, Alamo?
Abso-freaking-lutely.
Yeah.
You know, especially after, you know, going over there. And again, like, you know, I tend to be one of those guys. I don't play up my service very much, if at all. You know, Mac will attest to it. Like I say, like I didn't do freaking jack shit. I mean, we went and we found bombs and EOD blew up all the shit that we fucking found. That's pretty, you know, I got into one engagement when I was over there, one firefight. I mean, that was it. That's, you know, that's what it was. And that was the most excitement I think we had, aside from being able to blow the shit up that we found pretty much almost every other week when we were out there.
Yeah.
And then, you know, of course, you know, we had, you know, night missions where we arrested some guys and things like that. But I mean, really, that was about it. I mean, you know, my deployment didn't have the amount of engagements and all that stuff that, you know, you would really think that most, you know, mainline infantry units or ranger units or something like that, like basically the heavy pipe hitters would be getting, you know. But I think, you know, we did a good job with what we did, you know. But I'll never claim to be more like, oh, more high speed or anything like that. I just think that's just it's a crock. It's a crock, man. And
So
to claim more than that, you're doing a disservice to everybody else around you that served.
Yeah, I would
not
agree with you, man. 100%, man.
not to interrupt anybody, but that just kind of made me think of a question. Maybe that I'm hoping this kind of is in line with what you're talking about, Brian. But so Alamo said that he doesn't really play up what he did, and I think knowing Alamo for as long as I have, that makes sense. You know, I would like to think that the majority of people don't. Do you think that? What in your experience as a therapist have you seen people do that, like not do that because they don't want to have the confrontation, they don't want to be integrity checked, and like you have people like, you know, pat thumping the patch going, where'd you get that, where'd you get your CIB?
Right.
Do you think it comes along with that? And the reason I say that is because of the, you know, when you were talking about your first Jeep, how you put all that regalia on there, and then after a while you were like, I think I'm just gonna, like, you know, ride around pretty clean and sterile kind of thing. Do you think that kind of goes along with that? I mean, other than the fact, obviously, that we know, like the three of us, I would consider us to all be three pretty humble human beings.
Right.
But so far of that going into like, hey, I don't want to do this because I don't want people getting jealous or start, you know, questioning me and whatnot. Like that kind of really makes me think it's like, I don't like it's to the point, like a lot of times I don't bring up that I'm a vet. Just I don't want to seem like I'm bringing it up like, "Ugh, I'm a veteran." Like if people ask me about it,
Yeah.
sure, I'll talk about it, but it's not something I'm like flaunting around like with a little flag on top going, I'm a vet, I'm a vet, I'm a vet. So
No.
not that I'm not proud of my
Usually, yeah, I'm kind of like that too. Usually, unless somebody asks me and like somehow like they can tell, which I don't know. I guess some people can really.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that a lot.
You know, oh, were you a veteran? I'm like, yeah, I was a veteran. Like, oh, cool. What branch you serve? Oh, I was in Army. You know, that's usually the only time I really say anything. Other than that, I tend to not advertise unless like I'm trying to get all spiffitatious and like, you know. But other than that, it's really not. I don't advertise it really.
Yeah. No, I hear you, and I'm gonna go off of what you just said, Alamo, and then Mac as well. We'll kind of. I think last week we were talking about discrimination, man. You know, the main reason why I took all that stuff off my Jeep, man, I think it was COVID, man. I think it was 2020. You know, there was just a lot of social unrest, man, and I just, you know, and where we live, man, you know, we're right by McDill, you know, and I don't know, man. I kind of had that my gut instinct said, you know what, man, just take your shit off. You know what I mean? But you know, prior to that, you know, Alamo, man, like all those years I was in the military, I never like there was never a bumper sticker on my car. Like I never had anything, man. Like, but I kind of grew up, you know, with Dunning and First Sergeant Mac. You know, those guys are all about OPSEC, man. It's like you don't.
Yeah.
I was out as a baby soldier, as a, you know, an E3 coming up. Like we were told from the day I rose my right hand that, man, you don't stop. You don't stop for dinner. You go from home or work to home. You get undressed. You change and you go out. You know, you don't advertise it. You know, and Dunning was really particular about OPSEC, man. Fucking OPSEC. You don't talk about it. People, you don't, and it's just the way it was. And then when I got home in 2011 from Afghanistan, that's when ISIS was really bad. And you know, I don't know if these were boogeyman stories or not, man. There was just a lot of shit floating around that, like, soldiers were being found from Iraqis and shit like that, and Afghanis and other Middle Eastern people in their homes. You know, like people from the Middle East were finding where soldiers lived and where their families lived and stuff like that. And then there was a lot of shit about ISIS were trying to target us. And then it came down from our unit that we were not allowed to wear fucking, you know, our ACUs, you know, we couldn't go out fucking on the economy and eat when we're on duty. You know, we go from fucking duty to home, and that was it. They didn't want anybody fucking wearing their uniform off out of duty. So that's kind of the era I grew up in, man. So I just didn't display it. And the only time I talked about service, if I knew somebody was not a vet. Yeah. And then we'd bullshit, man. You know what I mean? But yeah, dude, I get it, man. But you know, Mac, and I kind of want to go back to your story, man. You know, that story about that chief that you're talking about.
Yeah.
You know, how do you think that interaction would have gone, man, if you were very jealous of that person? How do you think you would have treated him?
It's hard for me to say because I know how I would treat a person like that, you know, being very humble, appreciative of them, like you went before us, all that kind of, we stand on your shoulders kind of thing. Yeah. I can only imagine that would probably be just something that would just be defined as shitty, being rude, abrupt, short, kind of, you know,
probably
down on him as a
credibility.
Yeah. And it's weird. And the reason I say I can't see myself doing that because I wouldn't, you know. I may not like everybody, but have always been a firm believer, like treat people with respect, treat people the way you want to be treated, you know, that kind of thing. So it's hard for me to say that because like I would never do that. And if you ever caught me doing that, fucking call me out on it, be like, hey dude, what are you doing? Hello. Yeah. You know, I would hope that my guys just be like, whoa, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah. And you know, and there's a lot of different reasons why people might be jealous of us, man. And we'll take that direction here. You know, this is, you know, listen, there's a lot of civilians that are jealous of us. There are, man. There's civilians that really wanted to join the military, man. You know, maybe they grew up playing with G.I. Joe guys and playing Call of Duty, and they lived and breathed the military. They kind of self-indoctrinated. You know, maybe they were those kids that played Army growing up, you know, and they were an ROTC, and they dressed and they learned how to talk like soldiers. They learned all of our terminology and they used it in high school. And then maybe they got disqualified at MEPS. You know, and those guys may love us to death, but there's also some of those guys, man, they're really jealous of us.
Yeah.
They're really jealous of us, you know, and there's stories, man. You find them all the time, man. I hear them all the time. They're on YouTube and shit like that. Well, you'll get somebody like that, man. They just, for whatever reason, it didn't happen. And they'll see a vet with a vet t-shirt on, right? They'll have a vet t-shirt on. And there's this story. I can't remember where I heard it, man. It was by one of the content creators on YouTube. He's a former Marine, and you got a vet in a gas station with his little kid, getting ready to buy his kid a fucking Slurpee, pay for his fuel, and there was a young kid behind him, you know, that started doing an integrity thing on him, you know, and started questioning. Well, you know, what was your MOS? Where'd you go to basic training? You know, threw some fucking like military terminology at the guy just to see if the guy recognized it, you know. And then the fucking kid ended up assaulting him because the vet was like, "Why don't you fucking pound sand, you little shit?" You know what I mean? You know, and so that stuff happens, man. And again, it's this all goes back to, you know, me talking about childhood and shit, man. It's like sometimes when people are jealous, man, their behavior gets very bad. It gets very erratic. It can be very confrontational. And unfortunately they target people, man. They target people that they're jealous of. Right? That's a really good example of how far this can go. And we haven't got the romantic jealousy yet. Right? We're just talking about a vet wearing a t-shirt with his kid buying a Slurpee and paying for fuel. You know what I mean? and the vet ended up getting assaulted over it, because he told the kid to pound sand. But jealousy can make people do some serious shit that can cause pretty bad problems in their life, and they can end up in jail or fined or whatever, or sued or whatever.
I blame that previous scenario that you just gave us about the younger kid, integrity checking the older vet. It goes back to the whole, like, I remember reading a quote. I think it was like, I'm not certain by any stretch, but I think it was Mike Tyson. It's like, a lot of these young kids, these keyboard warriors and keyboard tough guys have never understood the defeat of getting punched in the face. And that's a very powerful lesson to learn. It's like,
I know.
That sounds like a very Iron Mike thing to say. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, the generation after generation.
Some of these keyboard tough guys never got punched in the face, and that's too bad because I'd offer to do it to them.
Yeah. But man, and again, buddy, I mean, that's part of jealousy though, and that irritates the living shit out of me, because I did see that at the treatment facility I was working at. I had some civilians integrity check some of the vets I was working with. I knew these vets. I knew their story. I verified them, vetted them, right, because I did all the fucking administrative work through the VA, so I knew who they were. I knew where they've been, all that shit. And you got a civilian over here that's integrity checking his vet, and he's antagonistic while he's doing it. We don't take that kindly, especially if you're a combat vet, and maybe you have some PTSD, and you twitch a little bit. We don't take that kindly, man. You know what I mean? No, I'm not gonna have some shit in my face integrity checking me because I'm, no.
I would go so far as to say that's also like, if you think about it, like in my mind, I think about like the different generations of veterans. You've got, World War II guys, and you've got Korea and Vietnam, and think about all the different conflicts in the generation, the era of veteran and stuff. It's like GWOT guys, like we're not subtle. We're not like, we're kind of loud and brash sometimes, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I'm just saying that as like, that's how we were raised up. It's like, listen, we're gonna go do some awful shit to some awful people, and you're gonna like it. It's like, all right, cool. So I think, I do agree. Because I think a lot of it has to do, and this is just my personal opinion, I think a lot of it has to do with just the kind of reaction of the era of the veteran and the personality of the veteran. And that's like going back to what I said earlier about like, I don't advertise it because. And Brian, you and I have had this talk plenty of times on one of our, long, evening drives or something. It's like, you just don't know who you're talking to sometimes, or what that reaction is going to be. Is jealousy a big factor? Are they going to be upset because you got a hooray for me ribbon rack and they just got the little participation trophy ribbon rack because they got hurt doing something else or something? It's like, you just don't know. And like, that's such a big wild card kind of thing. It's like, it's a gamble. You just don't know.
It is, man. And I kind of want to go back to something. There's a term that I used earlier. It's called dethroning. You got to think about a situation too, man, where, maybe there's a vet in your office and he's the only vet in the office, right? And he gets to tell all of his vet stories, and then the company hires another vet. And that other vet has been there and done that. You know what I mean? And when somebody's dethroned, it hurts. It hurts hard. It hurts hard, especially if their story is no longer the coolest fucking story. Right? It hurts hard, man. Especially if they're embellishing that story, Alamo. Right? Mm-hmm. That hurts hard. And those people, man, can be very spiteful, man. They can be so spiteful, buddy. I've seen it, man. I've seen it with professionals, man. They get so spiteful, man. And then all the character assassination comes, the attacking the credibility, right? openly attacking the credibility and character assassinating people in front of other people, because usually people that they're just minding their own business. It's not even on their mind. It's not even a thought that their service might be scrutinized. They're doing a job. They're doing the job. Their military career it might be a conversation piece here and there, but it's not their main focus. For people that are jealous, it's almost as if they start obsessing over the other person. Right? It's pathological jealousy. It's like their thoughts are extremely irrational again, and it's almost like they obsess over the other person, and they try to dig into the person's personal life. They might go on social media. They might try to find out the person's service record. They might. It's like they fucking start trolling the person, and it's because they're jealous. And what they're trying to do is they want their fucking throne back. That's what this is. Yeah. They want their throne back, man. They want their throne back. So they're gonna try to distort and discredit everything that fucking person did, so they get their throne back.
Yeah.
So now they get to be the one that's being talked about again. They get to be the one that's a center of attention again. It's really, really hard to fucking deal with when you're the one that is being discredited in confrontation now at your workplace, right? Because you just said, hey, yeah, I'm a vet and I went here and here, and that's it. Then you went about your day. You know what I mean? It's the other person that has the issues. The other person's the one that's jealous. And now not they're just not jealous, but they're pathological, right? They're showing characteristics of obsessive thoughts.
Yeah,
probably some really bad behavior that goes along with it, right? It's horrible to see, man. It's horrible to see. Again, I've witnessed it numerous times. It's happened to me once or twice. I've seen it happen to the friends. And I don't know, man. Again, it's hard to deal with. It's very hard to deal with. And before we end tonight, we're going to talk about how to deal with a little bit of that. But I do want to kind of breeze through the next thing, man, and because this is so prevalent within our culture, guys. Domestic violence is so prevalent within our culture, man. And a lot of domestic violence has to do with jealousy. All right. And this is a hot button for me because I deal with the abuser and the abused. Think about what I just said. I deal with the abuser and I deal with the abused. Okay. I deal with the guy that abused his wife or his girlfriend because he was jealous. And he went in a fit of rage in his jealousy. He got physical. Right? Then on the other side, I've dealt with the wife or the husband. You women ain't out of the, women abuse men too. Right? Then I've dealt with the person that has been abused. And just to throw this out here, like therapists are bullshit detectors. We're listen, you can't, it's hard to fucking lie to a therapist. I'm sorry. If you think you're lying to a therapist, you're lying to yourself. Okay. It just is what it is. Okay. Right. Your facial cues, your affect, your facial expression, the cadence of your speech, like we pay attention to all of it. Okay. You're bullshit. We know it. Okay. So when somebody that has been abused come in and they tell us our story, like 9 times out of 10, like they're being truthful. And when they say, they're like, I wasn't fucking doing anything. I was literally going to and from work. I was going to the grocery store. Maybe I forgot my phone in my car because I'm fucking burnt out from work. Or maybe, how about this? How about I just wanted to take this fucking thing right here And how about I wanted to turn this off for an hour? And when I did that, my husband came home in a fit of rage from work because he left work because he couldn't get a hold of me, and he manhandled the fuck out of me because I needed an hour break from this. And those are stories I've heard, guys.
Yeah.
Right. And so this is one of those important. It's a really important part of this evening. Okay. Because I tell you what, for all you guys that are on fucking disability, you got that check, right? Guess what happens when you go to jail high speed? That check stops coming. That check stops coming. Once the VA finds out you're fucking incarcerated, that shit stops coming. Don't ask me when they turn it back on because I don't know. I just know it stops coming. Because there's been a lot of guys that are really pissed off they stop getting that fucking $4,000 check every month. Right? And it's because of your behavior. Right? Right? So this is one of those serious things, man. You know? And I hear so often, she made me jealous. She made me jealous because of the shit she wore. She made me jealous because of the people she was hanging around with. She made me jealous because she has guy friends. Or he made me jealous because I don't know, he matched or he accepted a friend request from a high school girlfriend. Oh, by the way, they're in their 50s. So it was 35 fucking years ago. That shit happens more than you could possibly imagine, gentlemen. Where somebody's in their mid 40s to early 50s and like a high school girlfriend friends them on Facebook, and then the wife loses her shit, or vice versa, right? And it's funny too because they'll be like, one will be in like New York and the other one will be in like fucking California, and there's no chance they're gonna fucking see each other. It's just, oh shit, I remember this person from high school. I dated him 35 years ago. You wouldn't believe, because I've done couples counseling with shit like this, and I'm at awe at how intense the conflict is in a marriage because the husband or wife accepted a friend request from a teenage fucking boyfriend or girlfriend. It's mind-boggling to me. But the person that's jealous always justifies their jealousy, right? And they always justify their abuse. They deserved it. They made me jealous. They made me this way. Now, I'm going to give credit where credit's due. There are some people with personality disorders, like histrionic personality disorder or borderline personality disorder, where they have to be the center of attention and they purposely do things to make people jealous. But that's a very small percentage of the population, right? I'm not saying that you're not with somebody that's either histrionic or borderline. But what I'm saying is, more often than not, the person that's jealous, they're jealous because they have an insecurity. They're jealous because they have an insecurity. They're not secure in themselves. And these are the same people that when they start dating somebody, they magically fall in love with them within 3 to 6 months. Right? These are the same people that start trying to control the other people's lives. They start trying to isolate those people. They try to isolate them from their friends and their family, right? They don't allow that person to go anywhere by themselves anymore. And then the person that's jealous takes them everywhere they go. So when it's supposed to be a bro night, we're having our bromance. Now you got some chick with you, or vice versa. When you're having a ladies' night, now you got some dude with you, because he's so insecure he can't be away from you, because he's got to know what's going on every minute, every second of the day. This is where the really crazy pathological stuff comes in. I shouldn't use the word crazy. But this is where the pathological stuff comes in, where people start following other people. They start putting cameras in the fucking house, like the little nanny cams, or the cameras that are in a fucking stuffed animal, or the cameras that are into fucking the little blocks for your charging phone. Like, that's really next level paranoia, man. It's almost psychosis, right? You're almost psychotic. Your paranoia. If you're there, you're almost psychotic. All right. Especially when you start following people, or you start on your lunch break, you go to their work just to make sure they're at work. Like, guys, I deal with this all the time, guys. I deal with this all the time, man. And again, 9 times out of 10, right? The person that the person's just at work, right? Or they who knows, man. Listen, professionals, depending on what field you're in. I mean, I've had female coworkers that I've gone to lunch with who are married. We're both clinical therapists. We're fucking professionals, man. You know what I mean? I couldn't, like, I don't know, man. I'd have a hard problem with a dude that would be like, "What the fuck you doing with my wife?" In this level in life, in this professional field, it'd be very hard for me to maintain my professionalism in that moment. You know what I mean? But
100%.
But man, so I have to go here, man, because again, this is very prevalent within our culture, man, because a lot of us have been cheated on, man, and this is where the vast majority of this comes from, man. Jody is fucking everywhere, fucking Jody, right? Jody, man. And there's a lot of us. Listen, there's a lot of us that, man, we've had our bank accounts cleared out. There's been other. We come home from deployment. There's other dudes in our house, right? Maybe your wife's pregnant, not from us, and now we gotta fucking pay the child support until we figure out paternity. Like, shit is real, man, and I get it, and that shit cuts deep, right? But what happens if that shit goes unresolved, right? And then you build up all this resentment, all this untrust. At the end of the day, man, you're going to pay for it. And there's so many of us that do, man, because we pop, especially when there's alcohol involved. God, dude. I would say the vast majority of people that I've worked with that there's an assault and battery deal, right, where the veteran or the service member beats the shit out of their wives, or vice versa, because wives do this to husbands, right? Can't leave that out. There's alcohol involved. Most of the time, there's alcohol involved, right? And I would say the 1%. Well, I would say 96% would be alcohol, and 4% would be mental health issues, right? I'd say generalized anxiety disorder, OCD, is really bad. OCD is not what you think it is. OCD isn't just about putting shit in fucking nice and tidy. OCD is about having this thought in your head, this really, really nasty, intrusive thought that does not go away for days, sometimes weeks. Right? So guys with OCD, man, they'll get it in their head, my wife's cheating on me. They'll have that thought, and then that thought runs through their head over and over and over again for days, weeks, and months, and it never goes away. And they lack the ability to challenge it. They lack the ability to turn it off. But sooner or later, what happens is they start believing it, right? And what do you think happens to us when we believe something? We try to gather evidence. Well, what's the best way to gather evidence of somebody cheating on you?
All the stuff you just mentioned, the nanny cams, checking up on lunch. Yeah.
You go through their fucking phones. You fucking leave work and you follow them, or you're really, really, really on the other end of
AirPod their cars.
Yes, or you're almost psychotic and you're wearing a fucking black hoodie and you're peering in their fucking windows at night, because that's never happened.
Yeah.
You know, you're looking in the girls' windows or the guys' windows at 2:00 in the morning just to make sure they're not with somebody else. That happens, guys, and it's us that's doing it because we're fucking jealous, right? So what do we do about this, man? Right? So now we're kind of at the point. It's like, well, Brian, you've talked about jealousy for, I don't know how long. What do we do about it, right? So first and foremost, if there's somebody in your life, if there's somebody in your life that is jealous and you know they're jealous of you, right? You have a choice to make. You have a choice to make. All right. What does that person mean to you? Right? You love them, right? Are they your buddy? And can you look past that jealousy because because of their situation? That's up to you to figure out, man. Right? For me, man, if there's somebody and Mac knows this, if there's somebody in my life that becomes jealous, they get fucking ejected right away. Unless there's a very deep bond there and there's a friendship, man, I mean, because I've seen it where people will purposely try to get the other person in legal troubles because they're so jealous and they're so spiteful, and they're in such dire need to control the situation and the narrative, and they'll fuck somebody's life up. Right? They'll fuck somebody's life up. So yeah, I eject them out of my life, man. I do. 9 times out of 10, 99.9% of the time, you're going to get ejected out of my life. I'm not taking a chance. I'm not doing it. Male, female, I don't give a shit. Right? I love you. I love you from afar. But if you're going to fuck my life up because of your insecurities and your mental health issues, you're gone.
It's one of those where you look at them and you say, namaste, the fuck over.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, especially if they start stealing shit, because they're jealous of you, or they start doing oh God, dude, listen, the thing that irks me the fucking worst is the character assassination, and they start running their fucking mouth and trying to ruin your reputation because they're jealous of your reputation because they know they'll never be where you're at. That shit drives me crazy, dude. So it's just better just to get right out,
But, Alamo, let me ask you a quick question. I know that you were previously of the Catholic faith. Isn't jealousy one of the seven deadly sins? Or
envy.
Envy.
Envy. Yeah, envy. I said vanity. What the fuck's wrong with me? Envy. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was having that thought the whole time we were talking. I'm like, part of me, I'm very intently listening to you, but part of me is going, that don't sound right. Hold on a minute. It's like my brain kind of split. Like, a little part of it's over here going, I don't think that's correct. No.
Yeah, man. But so again, man. So if you're the one that's jealous, listen here. Listen now. If you're the one that's jealous, you've heard me ramble for a little while now about the ramifications of being jealous, and then how jealous can seem very innocent at the very beginning and then turn up into something that's very destructive and that can ruin your life at the end. Okay. If you're somewhere in the beginning, the end, or the middle, man, fucking get help. Go see a therapist. Tell them what's going on. Be open. Be honest. Because I tell you, when you're jealous inside, it feels like you're a live wire. It feels like you're in fucking survival mode. It feels like your senses are just heightened, and it's like you're poised for fucking combat, man. You know what I mean? And people describe it as this really, really intense, electrified, anxious state that just doesn't go away. And if you pair that with all these intrusive running thoughts of your head, of playing out scenarios in your head, of different romantic partners cheating on you or lying to you, and all these things, and people really, they get caught up in this shit, man. It ruins their lives, ruins their careers, ruins their relationship with their children. God, especially if, you know, you wouldn't believe, man, guys, listen, you wouldn't believe how many people abuse their spouses in front of their kids, man. You know, kids do not do well growing up, man, after witnessing their mom or dad be abused. You know, it really profoundly makes an impact on them, man. And it really changes their worldview on authority, on future romantic relationships. It's hard, man. It's really hard. If you're that guy, man, get help, or that girl, get help, man.
Mm-hmm.
And you're way beyond the point where you can say, well, fuck you, I don't need help, or I'm not trusting a therapist. You're 2 steps away from in your fucking being in jail. That's where you're at. I'm gonna put it like that. You know what I mean? You're one bad fucking night from going to jail and ruining your life. That's where you're at. So moving forward, I'm going to leave you on that. Moving forward, so the other part of jealousy I want to talk about is family jealousy, man. And this is something that I recently experienced, and it was so pleasurable. You know, I talked to you guys about discrimination from my family. You know, man, and a big part of the discrimination also it's also jealousy. You know, and it kind of came out recently. You know, and I said this during the last video, man, that some people they didn't make the right decisions in life. I'm not saying that going into the military is the right decision for everybody, but maybe some people early in life, they didn't make the right decisions. Maybe they had kids at 16. They were a kid. Maybe they made a poor decision, right? And they didn't have the opportunity to go to college, or they didn't have the opportunity to go to that technical school, and they weren't able to fulfill their dreams, and they, you know, and achieve their goals and stuff like that. And so now they, you know, they're miserable because they're in a job that they have to do because it's the only job they have. And they're very jealous over the people that maybe have nice things, maybe has had a chance to go to college, maybe did the military or whatever that situation may be. But familial family jealousy is so much different than jealousy with a stranger or with a friend. And I'm going to tell you why. Innately, we have this belief, and innate means that we're born with a belief that our family is never going to abandon us. Right? That's why family members treat each other like shit a lot of times, because there's no fear that they're going to abandon us. And we know that's not the truth. Right? But family can be the worst, man. They can be the worst, man. And I had a family member over recently. This is a couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago now. Mac, I told you about this. Mm-hmm. Alabama, man. They walked in my front door. Now, listen, I'm going to preface this by I have a 75-inch screen TV. Fuck yeah. Fuck, who wouldn't want one, right? Yeah, well, guess what? I didn't buy my 75-inch screen TV when they were $2,000. I was a fucking registered intern for 4 years, right? I got my 75-inch screen TV in like 2021 when Walmart had it for $500, and that fucking thing went on a Walmart credit card, and I paid that fucking thing for like 6 months. You know what I mean? Yeah. My family members zeroed in on when I opened the front door to my house. The first thing that fucking came out of their mouth was, "Oh, look how big your TV is." And it was the tone. It was a snide comment, right? It was the, "Oh, you think you're hot shit because you have a fucking 75-inch TV," right? You know, and this is the stuff I'm talking about, man. Right? That comes from jealousy. they're jealous that they don't have a 75-inch TV. But one thing I didn't touch on earlier is their perception of the worth of what they're jealous of. Now think about what I just said. Before 2020, a 75-inch TV was $2,000 or $3,000. So their perception of that TV was that I spent that much money on that TV. Their perception is not fucking rooted in reality. So for all you people that think perception is reality, you're fucking wrong, right? Perception is in your mind, all right? It's based off of your experiential reality and your fucking biases, and also the shit that you're fucking envious of, and your lack of knowledge and experience, right? So their perception was that that's a $2,000 or $3,000 TV. Reality, it's a $500 TV from Walmart that took me a few months to pay off because I was a fucking registered intern. Right? What you got, buddy?
So I wanna interject for just a second, because you asked earlier when we were talking about the Vietnam chief and how I would, if I was jealous. I think I have an answer in this particular instance. Okay. I have a very simple policy that I've adopted going through my life. It's the 3F rule.
Okay, 3F rule. Okay.
3F rule. Everybody you meet, you're fair and friendly at first.
Like that.
If they start getting stupid, then you get firm with them. And if it gets to the point where things are stupid, fuck them, and they're gone.
Fuck them.
Fair,
cut them.
firm,
like that, man.
Fuck them, right?
Fair,
and I think I would just rapidly go through that and be like, okay, that's my TV. Because, like, your house it's one of those things. I'm a firm believer of, like, your house is your castle, that is your domain. And it's like, yeah, if you don't have the nice stuff in the world, that's fine, but, like, don't expect to be a guest in my house. I might skip one or two and go straight to that third rule and be like, hey, there's the door, I want to show you my front yard. Shut the door. Get off my property, kind of thing.
I think you may have introduced a philosophy that I inadvertently follow.
I like that a lot, man. Yeah, I was going to say the same thing, Alamo.
I can't exactly say where I used to use that, but it's something I kind of adopted one day, and it just was like, yeah, that makes a lot of damn sense. Why did you not think of that earlier? Holy crap.
Yeah.
So instead of the 4F club, we got the 3F club.
The 3F club, yeah. But man, getting back to what I was saying though, man, is I'm using this to illustrate how some people can treat us, man, because of what their perception of what we have is, right? And listen, there's a lot of us vets, man. This is another thing about perception that I love, but there's a lot of us vets, man. Like we got hurt. Like we got fucking hurt, man. Like we got hurt in combat. You know, we broke our fucking backs, man. There's guys I worked. You don't believe how many guys I worked with, man, that were blown up. They have traumatic brain injuries. They have spine injuries. They're missing limbs, man. They have severe PTSD, right? It's so funny, man, because those guys, some of those guys, man, don't look like there's anything wrong with them, but they went through some shit, you know. And those guys that went through shit, they were integrity checked as well, man. You know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's just disheartening to me. But I digress. But going back to jealousy, man, it's, you know, those guys that you do get hurt, you get disability, whatever that looks like, man, right? That comes with material shit, right? That comes with a better quality of life, right? Especially if you can't do that job that you used to be able to do, right? And the VA is paying you. Maybe you could do something a little bit. So now you got two incomes, you know, so you could have some nicer shit. Usually we buy shit, man. We buy fucking shit. We buy fucking video games and motorcycles and TVs. We're toy guy. Listen, the GWAT community, we love our fucking toys. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, we do.
Yeah, man. We love our toys. But so people can see that, man. And for going back to that little kid that was 5 years old that can't have what they want. Those adults that are in our family, all they know is that Joe Snuffy over here has a 75-inch TV. Joe Snuffy over here has a master's degree. Joe Snuffy over here, he's got this nice house that the VA gave him, because that's the perception. The VA gave us a house. Joe Snuffy over here never has to pay for fucking medical insurance. Joe Snuffy over here, his whole life was given to him by the VA, and now he just has to just relax for the next 30 or 40 years. Wow, is that the fuck? Man, if that's the truth, I want that fucking life, because I fucking work every day. You know what I mean? That's what perception fucking pisses me off, man. But, that and jealousy, man, and discrimination, dude. Those three, man, they burn my ass. But jealousy, though, man, they're jealous. And my family, man, when they were here, buddy, I was blindsided. Like, I haven't seen my family in like 15 fucking years. Blindsided at my kitchen table. Blindsided. Like, it felt like somebody smacked me in the face. It went from being a very nice casual evening talking about grandkids. I have grandkids, talking about my grandkids and my kids' fucking high school stuff and all this other stuff. To, well, it'd be very nice if I had those benefits that you have. And it's very condescending tone. And it cuts, man, because as I said when we were talking about discrimination, I love my family. I miss my family. I want to be part of my family. But they've excluded me because of my service. And it was even more proof on that night that I'm excluded from them, because I'm paying for my service, right? I never fucking asked the break a vertebrae and to fuck my knee up and to break an ankle, and I never asked for that shit. I didn't intentionally do it. It just fucking happened, and there's no explaining to anybody, hey, well, if you work at fucking Henry Ford and you're on the assembly line and you get crushed, what do you think Henry Ford's going to do? They're probably going to take care of you for the rest of your life, right? That's why we have workers' comp and all these other things. And if it was negligence on the company, you're going to sue them, right? But in the step away from family shit, right? I did at the end of the last video, I did talk about people in the medical profession, people in the clinical profession, man, that I have worked with, that I have been around at the VA. And there's so much jealousy there, man. There's so much jealousy with civilians that understand how the benefit system works. And it's even worse when those people see what we make and they understand the VA's benefit system. I've worked with a lot of those people, man, and they're really, really jealous of us, man. And if you ever wonder why some of those people are really shitty to you, why they have a really bad attitude, right? Why you feel like you're being judged, it's because you are.
Yeah.
Right? They're fucking jealous of you, man. They're jealous of us, right? People, and that's another reason why I took all my shit off my Jeep, dude. Because I'm like, I don't want to attract somebody that's fucking jealous, dude. You know what I mean? Yeah. Mac and I had this conversation numerous times about my Jeep, and we had another conversation about T-shirts and shit like that. I don't wear anything that ties me to our community, man. I don't, because I've already been persecuted for it in college, in a professional space, and being a patient, both clinically and medically. I've paid for it, man. I love my culture. I want to be prideful. I love the support, my brothers and sisters in arms and stuff like that, man. But for me right now, it's kind of come at a little bit of a cost. And it's a heavy cost, man.
Yeah.
Going back to what Alamo was saying a little while ago, society's just fractured into a point, man, where people, their ability not to have a filter has been enabled, right, by the media and by social media, right?
Yeah.
And people just feel like they can come up to you without ramifications and spew their nonsense.
Yeah.
I'm just at the point I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to deal with it, man. But so we talked about what you can do if you're the jealous guy. Man, therapy. God, go get therapy. But if you're the one that's not doing anything wrong, and your friends, your spouse, your boyfriend, your family's jealous of you, you got some choices to make, man. Like I said, if I'm not tied to the person, I'm gonna inject them into my life. If I feel like I'm obligated to that person, I might really, really think about what that obligation is and why I'm obligated to that person. But I would talk to a therapist as well, man. And if you don't want to talk to a therapist, a friend that is not jealous of you, that you can entrust, who's non-judgmental, and that can be objective and not use the information against you, right? If you're somebody that's a person of faith, there's pastoral counseling. Talk to your pastor, right? Talk to a peer, but talk to somebody and be like, I'm being treated like shit. I'm being treated like I'm cheating and I'm not. Or I'm being treated like shit because I have disability, I have compensation, and I work. So I'm able to afford these nice things. But when I try to enjoy them with my friends or my family, I'm being treated like I'm the bad guy.
Yeah.
Or I'm somebody that has done them wrong because I worked my ass off and I got hurt and being compensated for it, which is an entitlement. And that fucks our brain up. That really fucks our brain up because that causes our brain to try to figure out what's wrong with us. Our brain doesn't try to figure out what's wrong with the other person. Our brain is like, well, what the fuck's wrong with me? What did I do wrong? Why am I being treated like shit? Did I do something wrong? Did I say something wrong? Right? Then you got people that they start giving their shit away because they don't want to be judged anymore. They'll give away everything they worked hard for. Or they'll isolate, which is even worse. They'll isolate from their friends and family. They won't seek out new friends because it's no longer safe, tangible, or to them healthy to have people in their lives because they're afraid they're going to be judged because they're successful. And that could cause all kinds of other issues. So again, my advice in the immediate, do a really, really good, honest, no bullshit evaluation of who's in your life. If you feel like you're being treated poorly because people are jealous in your life, again, you got some choices to make. In the immediate, again, though, it's so important for us to wake up and realize, I haven't done anything wrong. Like, I haven't done anything wrong. Like, I worked, I earned what I have. I worked my ass off for what I have. I've paid for what I have. That's important to remember.
Yeah.
And also to remember that I'm going to continue to work my ass off and I'm going to continue to purchase those things that I enjoy. Right? It's the danger zone. And when things are starting to get pretty bad for you as an individual, again, is when you stop enjoying life, you stop buying shit. Maybe you stop showing people shit. That's not good, man. That's not good. Because that says that whoever's jealous of you has now they're in your head.
Yeah.
And now they're controlling you because that's their aim. They want you to be where they're at. They don't want you to have nice shit.
Yeah.
They don't want you to have nice shit. They don't. And they're gonna do what that 5-year-old does, right? They're gonna throw a tantrum. They're gonna make you feel like shit because you have nice shit, or they're gonna try to hurt. They're gonna try to destroy your shit, or they're gonna try to steal your shit, which they do. Your friends steal shit from friends. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So
it's funny. The whole time you were talking, jealousy. I know you discussed quite a bit of stuff, and I don't want to paraphrase or take anything away from that, but
you're good, man.
one of the recurring themes is jealousy comes from comparison. And
Big
one of
time.
the and one of the don't remember where I heard this, but there's a quote. It's very, very simple, short quote, but it says comparison is the thief of joy.
I love that, yeah.
And it just the whole time you're talking about, all these different forms of jealousy and relationship and what you have and what you've worked for. I'm just sitting there going, comparison. It's just like, why do people gotta fuck it up? Like, okay, you don't have the things that somebody else has, but that doesn't mean that they have it any better or worse. Everybody's unique. Why can't we go back to being happy with their own unique perspective?
You're absolutely right. Yeah.
It's like, you got to have a kid by the time you're this. You got to buy a house. No, you don't have to.
That quote came from Teddy Roosevelt.
Was it really? Huh. That's probably why it stuck in my head for some reason.
Man, and listen, there's a whole other part of jealousy, man. That's I've talked about the 5-year-old little boy that didn't get what he wanted when he grew up, or just didn't have the means. But then there's also, again, that pathological jealousy that comes from like OCD, generalized anxiety disorder, or schizophrenia, or some of these other disorders, a delusional disorder, or some of these other disorders that really distort reality.
Would bipolar disorder be considered part of it?
Not really. Bipolar disorder is more. It's like you go from a depressive state into a manic state. But it's just important. Again, guys, I can't say it enough, and it's important to address this immediately. If you're that guy that's always been jealous, it's not getting better; it's getting worse. And the longer you allow yourself to be jealous, man, the intensity just ramps up day after day after day after day, and the behavior ramps up day after day after day after day, right? But I want to go back to a professional on a professional. When you're dealing with a professional, especially at the VA or something like that, man, and that you feel like you're being treated poorly, report that shit immediately, right? Even if I hear so many guys, I didn't report it because the VA ain't gonna do shit. Listen,
they're also not gonna do shit if they don't know about it.
Patient affairs, right? Those guys, I think that's a state agency, if I'm not mistaken, man. But those are mostly vets that work at patient affairs, right? Like, listen, report it, man. Right? The more people report at the VA, the more people you report at a therapist's office, at a dental office, the more people you report that's treating you poorly because you're a vet, right? The better chances the next guy has of not being treated poorly, right? Because hopefully that person will get ejected, or there's corrective action and they unfuck themselves. But that's important, man. I mean, we could go into jealousy. Can be a week-long thing, man. There's so many different types of jealousy, where it comes from. You really get into mental health stuff again. This is
Brian,
kind of
I think you just gave us another idea for a show. Unfuckery.
Unfuckery. I like that. Unfuckery. Yeah, I like that, man. I like that. But
my guy.
Yeah, I hear you, man. But seriously, though, man, I can't stress enough, and I'm going to come back to this, man. I've worked with this too many of our brothers that they have. Listen, guys, they've ruined their lives over jealousy. They've ruined their career. Man, they've ruined their career. They've ruined their disability compensation, right? They've ruined their reputation because of jealousy, man. And then the other side of it, families, man, families are ruined because of jealousy. They're ruined. They're fragmented. They're destabilized. Kids' lives are destabilized because there's jealousy within a family, right? So that's where I'm going to end. I hope you guys have a good night. This is something really, really good to fall asleep to. Sorry.
No. Brian, listen, man. We said it last week. I want to say it again. Thank you again so much. Not only for coming on the show this week for the previous episode 2 weeks ago, but thank you also, man, for just continuing to just help us out, because a lot of times when we're sitting here like, we should talk about something important and not just pull random straws of conversations out of our hind parts.
Yeah.
We need a little bit of help sounding, contemporary and sounding, like we're talking good discussions about, our community and whatnot. And you've done that in spades several times over. So again, sir, thank you. Appreciate you as always.
I think this was a good conversation, man.
No, honestly, for real.
Because honestly, my thing is this: like, it holds a mirror up to anybody listening, because you're thinking about the idea that, hey, sometimes it's not just that someone's jealous of you. Sometimes it's you're being the shithead. So, look in the mirror and unfuck yourself. Literally. You know what I mean? It is what it is, dude.
My brother and I have this thing where, like, we talk like a bunch of old dudes from back in the day. Like, fuck you. No, fuck you, son. Like, I want to take that meme and just go, unfuck yourself. No, you go unfuck yourself. Like, I don't know why that just came into my head, but it's just like, we have to do that now. That's gotta be a thing. This is what delirium looks like, folks. Like, I am running on like about 4 hours of sleep. I've been up since 5 o'clock this morning. I just pounded a big ass cup of tea, energy drink. So like, this is the personality and the caffeine are in the driver's seat, folks.
Nice, man. Yeah, nice, buddy.
But Brian, listen, man, thank you again. This was a fantastic idea. If you have any more ideas in the future, please, by all means, let me know. We'll be more than happy to have you back on as a recurring guest, so we can talk about the many things that irk the shit out of you in life and in the professional setting. Because, listen, hey, that's part of it. We talk about things that are a disservice to our community, to us as individuals, us as a group, as a subsect of society and whatnot. And the only way we can change it, like you said, if you see something, say something, report that shit. We're talking about this right now as a ways to bring attention to it. So we want to help the next guy out along the line. So I don't know if you're planning on hanging around until we finish the show, because it's already late tonight, which is not a bad thing. I mean, it's good conversations to take a while to get through and stuff, which is fantastic. If you're going to hang out, we'll see in a little bit. If not, I will talk to you soon. But we're going to put you in the backstage, and then we're going to finish this out, and then we'll get the hell out of here for this week. So.
All right. Deuces.
Deuces, yeah. Oh, man. That was a good one. Dude, we could have easily stretched that conversation over like 2 or 3 episodes and just focused on like professional jealousy, personal jealousy, familial jealousy, jealousy towards the military, and
because it's going to have all of its little separate subsections.
And little quirks and qualms
could have been expounded upon.
And while he was talking, dude, I wrote down a couple other potential topics on the topics list for down the road and stuff. I'm like, talk about this, we can talk about that. Like, it's the gift that keeps on giving. It really is. So
it really is.
That has been our chat on jealousy. This is episode 124, the second part of our series entitled Fallout. Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to start wrapping this up because it is on the late side. But hey, good conversations take time and have context, and they have substance to them. And I cannot thank Brian again enough for coming on and helping us, giving us a little bit more of an air of professionalism and respectability. So thank you for that as always, because otherwise we're just two assets on here, talking about shit and being stupid. So
literally,
if you're new to the if you're new to the show, Alamo and I have been friends since high school, and that's longer than either one of us cares to admit out loud. But it was a while ago, and we became friends. And on that note, yeah, we're gonna keep going. So we both ended up joining the military. He was a freshman when I was a senior in high school. During that year, 9/11 happened, so that kind of altered the trajectory of both of our lives. We both ended up serving in the post 9/11 GWAT military. Alamo was active duty and went to Iraq. I was in the National Guard here in Florida and went to Afghanistan. So between the two of us, we've got a lot of experience stuff covered on the experiential spectrum of life, so to speak. Ended up working together for a private retail company in Tampa where we lived at the time. We also had this good friend of ours, a guy named John. Funny fucker. Guy worth knowing. He's a fantastic dude. And it really didn't feel like work. It was like I get paid to hang around with two good guys and screw around. It's like, yeah. It was awesome. It was great. And we just did so much. I'm surprised none of us got fired. Like, we did some dumb shit there, man.
Yeah.
But we all became friends and all that good stuff. We all kind of went our own separate ways. So a few years down the road, Alamo reached out to me. Actually, I'm sorry, his wife reached out to me. Miss Tisha has an organization called Flipside Mentorship. It is a fantastic. If you want to see goodness winning and goodness in action and good people doing amazing things, flipsidementorship.com. Their mission statement is fantastic. They're always there to try to elevate and help. It's what is it again?
Changing tomorrow today.
Changing tomorrow today. It's such a great statement. It's like, oh yes, it hits the spot. If you know these folks, it's fantastic. And we partner with them once a year. We do an event with them that we're proud to do. It is fantastic. The only bad thing is I get burned up like a freaking Maine lobster. Come out looking all red and shit. It's awful.
Lobster.
Come out looking like a lobster.
Break out the garlic butter.
Oh, get them biscuits from Red Lobster. Get them Cheddar Bay biscuits. Oh, killer, wicked killer. Oh my god. I don't know why we just turned into Ben Affleck and Matt Damon all of a sudden from like Good Will Hunting. That's terrible.
Yeah, no kidding.
Anyway, dude, I'm so tired. What a damn week.
Delirium hit hard.
Oh,
Delirium hits hard, man.
I'm running on caffeine and personality, and they're starting to hit the fumes part of the tank. So anyway, Miss Tisha reached out about working an event for her organization, and I said, sure, no problem. Had a blast doing it. Afterwards, Alamo and I were sitting here talking, and we were like, dude, we should do something to get back together. Actually, you said that. I was like, yeah, I agree. What did you have in mind? You brought up the idea of doing a podcast. I'm like, I don't know anything about a podcast. He goes, I believe you looked at me and you said, dude, they put a monkey in outer space. I'm like, that's my kind of logic. So we started kind of conceptualizing the idea of what this has become. Came up with the idea of the Battle Bros podcast, came up with the name and kind of also the brand. So as a part of that, we came up with the Battle Bros Code. And what the Bros Code is it's the easy 4 easy things you can remember when things get rough, when things get hard. Okay. You can go
easy things you can remember.
Remember when like things get rough and stuff and things.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Remember Star Wars? Remember Chewbacca?
You remember?
Yeah, I remember.
What is that referencing?
The what? The member berries from South Park.
Okay, because I'm thinking of what that made me think of is when Chris Farley had a skit on SNL. The Chris Farley show is like he's interviewing Paul McCartney. He's like, "Do you remember when you were with the Beatles?" Yeah, I do.
That was great.
Yeah, that was awesome. That's what makes me think of that. It's just like, that's so good. It was so dumb, but you're just like, yep,
Literally.
totally. Anyway, what the Bros Code is it's 4 easy tenets you can remember when things get hard to help keep yourself fighting to get to the end of the day to make it on to the next day. Okay, so we're gonna go over those real quick with you. Only thing you gotta remember is the word bros, BROS. Okay, we're gonna go through those one by one. Be tenacious. No matter what happens in life, okay, whatever path you choose, have the tenacity to give it the utmost and fullest attention and the fullest energy and the fullest effort. Okay. Whether you choose to be a therapist, a parent, a service member, a social worker, service, somebody that provides a service to somebody else, whatever that looks like. Okay. Go out there and give it 100%. Okay. Can't give 110% because then you wouldn't have anything left for yourself. And let's just be real. You got to keep something in the tank for yourself. But in the words of the great Ron Swanson, don't half-ass two things, whole ass one thing. And also remember the great line from The Rock. Don't just give it your best. Because why? Because Sean Connery said, your best. Losers give it their best. Winners go home and fuck the prom queen. Be tenacious. I remember I had to go back and look it up. I was like, oh yeah, that's what it was. Damn it. How could I not forget? How could I not remember that? Go home and fuck the prom queen, folks.
Yes, that's right.
This message. R, refuse to surrender. No matter what happens in life, okay, things come up, you get off topic, you get off track, whatever the case may be, okay? Don't let it beat you. When you get knocked down in the mud, pick yourself up by your bootstraps, dust yourself off, bust out your compass, pull out your map, reorient your map, shoot your azimuth, figure out where the hell you're going. Distance direction, move out, DD Mao, folks. That's all you got to do. Refuse to surrender, okay? Going along with that, obliterate your obstacles. When those obstacles come up, don't let them define you. Don't let them beat you, okay? If you have to cross a river, if you have to go and skirt along a river down, through the woods and stuff, whatever the case may be. If you have to, get over an obstacle, traverse it, go over it, go under it, blow a hole in it, drive a vehicle through it, whatever the case may be. Obliterate your obstacle, folks. Okay, just remember that the goal is to hit the X and conquer that objective. Hit the OBJ. Okay. S, for last and most importantly, S, seek out help in a time of need. Okay. As we mentioned with our friend John, which we didn't actually mention when we were going through this a minute ago, we found out in the process of coming up with our podcast, I found out through a friend of ours that John unfortunately chose a permanent solution to a temporary problem, and he committed suicide. And it's unfortunate because number one, he was a great dude. Nobody should take that route. Number three, he was a guy worth knowing. Okay. Part of what our mission set is, our mission here at the Battle Bros podcast is to help alleviate this number right here. Not so much the number, but the idea that veterans every single day are choosing that method of getting out instead of getting help and perpetuating themselves forward and propelling themselves forward into a newer and better version of themselves and of their life. Okay. So John was kind of like the catalyst of what this show is. If John being around meant we didn't have this show, I would be okay with that wholeheartedly because John was a great guy worth knowing. One of the reasons that we have this show is as a means to honor him and his memory, and also the folks that have, gone down that same path. Okay. So if you feel like you're going to do something that there's no way out of, please stop and get yourself some help. Like Brian said, get therapy. If you need to get some therapy, get help, whatever the case may be. If you have the ability to have somebody, I'm very fortunate. I've got this guy right here on my side. I've got Brian. I've got a good group of friends. If I need something, I can reach out to them and be like, hey, I'm not in a good place. I need some help. Okay. And I'm very blessed and fortunate to have that. Not everybody does. And that's just fair. That's an honest statement. Okay. If you don't have somebody like that, a family member, a coworker, somebody you can talk to and chew the fat and you shoot the shit. Okay. If you need somebody to reach out to, and if you feel like you're going to harm yourself, stop and reach out to somebody. You can contact plenty of resources out there. The one that we always talk about is the National Suicide Prevention Hotline. You can contact them a number of different ways. They have the 800 number. It's 1-800-273-8255. Again, 800-273-8255. The last four numbers spell the word talk: Tango, Alpha, Lima, Kilo. 1-800-273-TALK. You can also dial 988. Again, that's 988. Or you can text 838-255. Again, 838-255. And that'll get you in touch with somebody at the hotline. They have folks here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Once you get on, I think you just dial 1 or press option 1 to contact and talk to somebody, a live operator at that given point. They have trained professionals there that are there for you in your time of crisis and need. So please utilize that resource, okay? But if you can, whatever it takes, okay, get yourself help. If you need to get some, professional help, get therapy or whatnot, there are options out there for you. We need to keep as many of us here as possible, okay? Our numbers are starting to dwindle because of various reasons, and we need to keep us around as long as possible. So if you can remember those 4 things: be tenacious, refuse to surrender, obliterate your obstacles, and seek out help in a time of need, that's going to give you hopefully enough forward mobility to keep going to the end of the day, to get to the next day, get to the next day, get to the next day, and get yourself on a path to making a better self and a better life for yourself, okay? So at this point, I'm going to hand it off to Alamo. He's going to cover the social media stuff, and then we're going to wrap it up and get out of here for this week. So take it away, my dude.
Yes, sir.
Other way. I'm other way.
On my screen, you're there.
Oh, well.
So, if you want to catch us on the social medias, there are multiple places you could do that. The Feces book is also one of those. It's a meta platform.
What was the term that we used last episode talking about getting away from social media? You always call it the digital fast.
I call it the social media fast. Yeah, is what I usually call it.
What was the other? It had the same letter. Digital detox. That's what it was.
Yes, digital detox. Yes. There are multiple places.
That every once in a while, people.
Yeah. Definitely do that. There's multiple places you could do that. You can go ahead and catch us on Facebook. And you could do that at facebook.com/battlebros.podcast, or if you just go into the app and just search battlebros.podcast, excuse me, you'll be able to find us. You can find us also on the Instagram at battlebros_podcast. You can also find us on the InstaTwit, aka X, formerly known as Twitter. I mean, with the people that are on there right now, dude. I mean, good God.
Hey, you're not wrong. I'm like, that works. Absolutely. Damn.
You can find us on X as well. I'm not gonna lie, I haven't monitored our X in a while just because we get very little traffic on it. Hopefully we'll get some movement on there at some point. But you can find us on X as well at Battle Bros PC. Every single one of the social medias, you can instant message us on those platforms. We're here to hear anything that you guys have to say, whether it's, hey, we love that episode, hey, I got an idea, why don't you guys talk about this? Hey, we like hearing about it. We want to see what you guys think, and your input is very, very valuable to us. Which brings us to our personal email. You could go ahead and email us at battlebrospc@gmail.com. That is battlebrospc@gmail.com. And you can send us the personal messages there saying, hey, you guys suck. Or, hey, you guys are great, but can you guys talk about this at some point? And again, or hey, even one message that we're genuinely really wanting to hear, which is, hey, you guys act kind of goofy. You guys are a couple of asshats sometimes, but I don't know what it was about that last conversation. It really helped me, or it really helped my friend, or it really helped whoever. That's honestly the one thing we're really looking forward to when it comes to like that's a message we really want to hear and see. So if you like what we do, if you like what you see here, I will ask you to like, subscribe, and do all the social media pings and things like that to go ahead and make sure that this message gets shared out and spread as far as possible. Share it with your friends, share it with your fam. Because honestly, we can't get the message out there without you guys. So if you guys continue to do that, if you guys share it out and talk about it and share it with friends and family, that's definitely going to be the best way to do it.
This is very much a symbiotic relationship where we come up with the content in order to help other people out, but you can also help be a part of that by spreading that message around. I mean, sometimes it's not about you getting the message, it's about you saying, right, hey, heard these guys, it might be good for what you're talking about or what you're going through, and that would be cool. We get asked all the time, or I get asked by my daughter, she's like, how many followers do you have, Dad? I'm like, I don't know. I don't track that number. That's really not a metric that I'm too overly concerned with. Is it great to have followers? Absolutely. Is it the most important thing? No. If we got a message saying, hey, like Alamo was saying, we got a message saying, hey, I was in a bad way, but you guys, something about you two guys being stupid on there just made me laugh for a minute. And I stopped thinking about how bad things were. And I actually smiled for the first time in forever. And I stopped myself from going down that one-way road that you can't ever get off of. That would be amazing. I'm not saying I want to roll that into fruition or anything.
Awesome.
Yeah, but that would be a validation moment for me. I'm sure, for Alamo as well, just being like, hey, we're doing something, we're making a difference,
Yeah.
It would show that, the long nights and the long hours and late nights of doing this are helping to pay off. I'm sure we are, but it would just be like that validation moment of like, sweet. Absolutely. I'm ready to go for the next 250 episodes or whatever. So,
yes,
I didn't mean to cut you off there, dude, but continue on, my man.
Last but not least, if you like seeing what we do, obviously you could catch us here on YouTube pretty much every Friday at 9 p.m. If you can't catch us live, Eastern Standard Time. If you can't catch us live, there are multiple places you could catch us. There's Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. You could even catch us on Rumble. All you have to do is, if you have the Rumble app, search Battle Bros, all one word, in the app, or go to rumble.com and search Battle Bros, all one word, in the search bar, and you can find us right there. And again, like I said, what on those platforms, whichever ones they are, again, like, share us. Again, we can't really spread the message without you guys, and the message is not going to go anywhere if you guys aren't sharing it. So, the more you guys could do that for us, and again, sharing is caring. Sharing is free. It's not like you're, really spending any money on doing it. You're just, sharing it out. Takes 10 seconds. Just click, share, done.
Passing it forward, or passing it along and paying it forward. So
literally. So the more you guys share, the better it go. The further it goes. So we do appreciate it, though. We do appreciate the views we get every week, and we want to say thank you guys, and just keep charging. For those of you that are having a hard time, man, keep charging, and don't let the demons win. That's all I got to say.
On that note, thank you again, everybody, for joining us for episode 124. Fallout Part 2, entitled Jealousy, with our special guest, Brian Ellis. Thank you to Brian for being here 2 weeks in a row. Congratulations on being our first four-time return guest to the show. So thank you for that. Thank you, as always, for the content and the insight and the direction that you give us. It is definitely appreciated. That's all I got, folks. It's kind of late, so we're going to get the hell out of here. This has been episode 124. of the Battle Bros podcast entitled Fallout Part 2 Jealousy. My name is Mac. This is Alamo. We are the Battle Bros podcast. Please remember to look out for one another, and just remember, be tenacious, refuse to surrender, obliterate your obstacles, seek out help in a time of need. If you can do that, you're giving yourself a good chance of being okay. We'll see you next week, hopefully. Until then, stay safe, and we'll see you out there.
Battle Bros out.